Hey y'all, this is Casey from Pizzazz, and we are just going to be lettering and doodling and painting a little bit just because it's been a crazy week. And we are going to be doing just a little bit of a live every night, every day for this week. We'll do a couple of them. We're going to be doing some kids classes and some lettering, not classes, but kids little tutorials and some lettering stuff free for you every day this week, just as a little something that maybe can bring joy or bring a little something. So I'm just going to letter the words, and y'all, I have not planned this out beforehand, so I don't have a rough draft of what I'm doing. So you're just going to kind of see my process of going with the flow, okay? And I am going to letter. Actually, I'm going to change paper real quick. This is Bristol paper, and I like Bristol paper, but I changed my mind and I want to do watercolor paper. So I've got watercolor paper here. Okay, so I'm just going to letter the words slowing down, because that is what we are doing when we are now, no school for 3 weeks. That it's going to be a forced slowdown, and we can get mad about it, or we can choose to embrace it and do fun stuff and make time for stuff like this, for lettering and painting. So here we go. I've got my my watercolor paper, and I'm just going to do the words slow down or slowing down. That's what we're doing. Maybe I should turn it this way. I'll turn it this way. All right, so here we go. If I had practiced this before, I would probably not use a pencil because I would kind of know what I'm doing. But I really am just creating as we go here. So slow, and then when I do that, I use a pencil just in case something doesn't go quite right. So slowing, like, okay, for example, I dotted the W instead of the I. So I'm going to move that right on over. Okay, so slowing down. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to now take my Sharpie and come over this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to Sharpie this, and then I'm going to just doodle some stuff and use our neon watercolors all around it. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Christy. There's lots of y'all on here. Hey, Cheryl from South Carolina, and Kim. I'm glad y'all are here. So if you were just hopping on, we are just using watercolor paper. And we are slowing down and we are lettering about it to remind us to embrace it. All right. There's a lot. It was always, perspective on things is how we choose to react to things. And we can get kind of, feeling like everything's going crazy, or we can find the good in what's going on. And there is some good in being able to slow down. This marker has about had it. I tested it before I started, but when you test it, you just do a little bit. Oh, now that I'm doing it, it looks kind of bad. Let me see if I've got another marker. Let's see if this one works. Okay, so I just traced that. Now I'm going to kind of add a little extra. So I like to do little teardrops there on the downstrokes. This one's no good either. Gonna add these. And you'll notice that I did not, when I was tracing this, I didn't worry too much about being exactly on my pencil line, because if you try to be exactly, like if you go too slow and try to get exactly on every pencil line, sometimes you're going so slow that it's shaky, and you definitely don't want that. Okay, so now I'm just thickening the downstrokes. I'm not thickening all strokes, just the downstrokes, because I like to have a variation of thicks and thins. So once I get all of this on here, what's really going to be fun is the neon watercolors. If y'all have not seen us use the neon watercolors before, they are fun. They are fun. I know some of y'all are on here. I saw you hop on that are on our lettering club. We did send those out to our lettering club a couple of months ago, and so they got to play with them. But they're really fun. We'll show you some of it tonight. I'm really bummed about my marker. I thought it worked good, and now I'm like, ugh, now I'm stuck here with this marker that is no good, but it's okay. So if anybody is at home, then you are, suddenly at home and you have found yourself with a totally different schedule. I would love to hear some of the things you plan on doing. So are you planning on doing games with the kids, more creative stuff like this, walks around the block? We did go outside. It was beautiful today. And a lot of people were out, and it was just fun outside, just riding bikes and walking around. So I would love to hear what you're gonna do. Okay, so slowing down. Hey, Beverly from Millbrook. All right, so I've got that on there. Now, let me think. I told y'all I'm doing this kind of off the cuff. I'm trying to look for another pen as I'm doing. I hate the pen that I just grabbed. Okay, so I love flowers. So I am pretty sure this is a waterproof pen. I'm going to test it though. Anytime you have got a pen and you're not sure if it's waterproof, like I'm about to add watercolors to this, so I sure don't want to use a pen that is going to bleed black everywhere, because if it's water soluble, it will. So always practice it. So I'm just scribbling on it right here. I'm going to get some water on my brush. Okay, there we go. So it's waterproof. I'm good to go. I'm going to show you what it would have looked like if I would have used something that's not waterproof. This is gray, but still, you'll be able to see. Do you see how that kind of washes away? If it was black, it would have turned out like a dark black. So you always want to test it if you know you're going to add watercolor to it. All right. So Chrissy says, I work for the bank. I have made work from home mandatory for the next 30 days. Wow. Christy, where is that? Let's see. Christy, I would love to know where you're from, that you said they're making you work mandatory from home for the next 30 days. All right. Dan says you'll be doing some lettering fun and planting a garden. Awesome. Okay, so here we go. I've done this now. Here comes, do I want to do a border around it or just my flowers that I love? I think both. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of come all around it. Okay, you're in South Carolina. Okay, and they made y'all do the mandatory work from home for 30 days. Is that for most businesses there or just your particular business, Christy? Just curious. All right, so I'm doing that. And now, if you have ever seen, I love doing flowers, okay? Like, I can't get enough flowers. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm trying to think if I want to do what kind of flowers. I think just fun, like really bubbly. Now, do you see how I'm doing like multiple lines on top of each other like this? That to me is way more freeing than trying to be perfect. If you just do multiple lines and just from the get-go know that it's not going to be perfect, it's like, all right, like, I don't care. I'm just trying to have fun. And doing like whoop, 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 whoop just helps it to be kind of fun and sketchy. And if you do something a little bit too little, you can kind of self-correct and come back in. So I'm doing like the center. And then I'll do the curvy flowers. And see how that one kind of goes off the page? It's totally fine. So also another tip as far as composition, you see that like this one is kind of behind this, but then this one's going off the page. This is behind this, going off the page. Okay, so you can kind of stagger it up like that. Let's see. I just saw a question pop up. Hang tight. Diane says, have you done any Bible journaling in the membership group? I received my Bible. Yay! I'm glad. So that comes tomorrow. Tomorrow is when we're doing the Bible journaling. We were waiting for everybody to get it. So that's awesome. All right. So one more. I'm trying to think. We'll probably be up here. Joel Kelly says, I plan to do a little painting during social distancing. Good deal. Lots of painting is good for the soul. Painting and lettering and being creative, period. Okay, so we've got that kind of drawn. And then do I want to add any, I think I want to add a little bit of darkness inside some of the centers just for a little bit of push and pull. So I'm just kind of doing these little scribbles. And what I mean by push and pull is you see a lot of white in the background. Now, obviously, we're about to paint it. But still, I feel like there needs to be some sort of a heaviness. So I just do a little bit of a bolder line in some cases. This time it's just some scribbles just to add a little bit of a dark. I'm not coloring it in solid, but I just want a little bit of dark. Yay! Stacy says she's in her Bible journal now. I love it. Isn't it so fun? Stacy is in our lettering club, and she came to our workshop last night with our Bible journaling, so it was super fun. All right, so there we've got our slowing down. Now we are going to go to our watercolors. All right, y'all. Okay, here comes the awesomeness. I'm going to go to the yellow. It's almost like highlighter color. I mean, it's just so bright. So bright. And again, I am on watercolor paper, okay? It is important to know that I'm on watercolor paper, because if you try to do watercolors on like copy paper, and a lot of times I see this, people will, you know, they'll get part of the supplies and then they'll just try to use what they've got at the house, which yes, it does work. It's just, it's a shame to do something you really like and have paper that is all kind of like wrinkling and tearing. Deborah says, what kind of black pen are you using? Okay, so I'm using what I could find. Deborah, I wanted to use a Sharpie, but my Sharpie went dead. So I just had one of these on hand. This is the Tombow Mono Twin. But any permanent marker will do. I really was planning on using the Sharpie until it died on me. All right, so there I've got the yellow. I'm going to go ahead while I've got yellow and just kind of do it in a few spots. And maybe down here. And what I also want you to see is it does not take long at all just to create some fun art, you know? All right, so here's some pink. Yeah, isn't that pretty? And I'm not, you know, having to do anything. I'm not really right now blending with this. I'm just laying it on. Let's see. Put some there. Maybe some there. I really want to do more of the pink, but I don't want these two to be pink side by side. So maybe I will go to the orange. So we do have these neons for sale. We have got lots of them at the studio. Well, we do have lots of them, but not like unlimited supply. But we do have a lot of them. If anybody wants these, we will put a link in there, because we can get these shipped out to you. They are not sold, or I have not seen them sold in stores around here. Okay, so those are two different oranges. I'm going to, okay, I started with that one and didn't love it. I'm gonna maybe add a little bit more over here. All right, just to kind of, I told you I wasn't going to blend, and then I did because they didn't match. So, but do you see how pretty it looks when you blend like that? Like, I didn't even do anything fancy. All I did was added another color into it while it was still wet. We call that wet on wet. And gosh, it's fun. It's fun. And then I think I'm going to have to do that color down here. So I will use both of these oranges again, just to kind of mimic that. So I'll do the light orange first. And then while it's still wet, I'll kind of put in that dark orange. I hope you see that this is not, like, I'm not having to be super duper precise. I'm just throwing color on. All right, since this is still wet, do you see how this is just kind of melting into there? It's the wet on wet technique. So if it was dry and I dropped this on, it would make just a circle. You'd be able to see it. It would be strange looking, but since when it's wet, it kind of blends in and has that tie-dye look. All right, now we also need to come into the centers over here. And then we would need to make the decision. Either we're gonna paint this or paint the background. Decisions. I'm thinking background. Let's do the background bluish and purple. I'm going to look over here really quickly just to see if there is any questions. I don't immediately see questions, but sometimes I don't see them until afterwards because it doesn't show me everything at one time. Kimberly says, love seeing this type of creativity is calming. That is what we hope. We hope to be a source of joy and calming and inspiration and all of that to you always, really, but especially during these times. So many people are at home, and so we thought, what can we offer that just brings a little bit of happy, gives you some ideas for ways to spend the time, helps you to focus your mind on the good right now. So like I said before, we will be coming on live every single day this week, doing both lettering and art projects and a few things for kids too, because we know lots of kids are home. Earlier today we posted a fun little owl thing, step by step, and we've got more on our blog at Pizzazz Online, but we'll be posting every day this week. So y'all just be watching kid stuff and adult stuff. So I wet the paper first. I didn't wet it first up there, so either way is fine. And then I'm going to add in the blue, and you see the blue just kind of goes to wherever the water is. And while it's still wet, then I'm going to drop in the purple. All right, so at this point, you know the technique. I've told you several times, it's called wet on wet. So when you take wet watercolor and just drop in other wet, it kind of turns to this cool tie-dye effect. Right now, it looks a little bit polka dot right there. I think it will expand. Yes, somebody just asked, can you post the link for the neon watercolors? I totally will, whenever I get off of this. I can't do it at the moment, but I will. It's also at pizzazzonline.com. If you go there, you'll see it, but I will post the exact link. So right here, I'm not wetting it first. I'm just gonna add the blue and then come in and add the purple. Now, when you are using watercolor paper, especially if you're doing the wet on wet technique, it's gonna be kind of puddly for a bit. Don't pick it up and let it all drip everywhere. Lay it flat, okay? Lay it flat. And sometimes your paper may buckle depending on the weight of your paper. And if it does, it'll usually flatten out when it dries, okay? Or you can put it in between some books or something. So like right now, mine has got a little bit of a curved up right here, but once it's dry, it'll flatten out. So do you see how I'm just dropping that purple in there? I'm not rubbing it back and forth. I'm just kind of dropping it in there. And do you see down here how that did look polka dotty earlier, but now it's kind of all flowy? So good stuff. So we will just continue to do the same thing, the wet on wet technique. So we've got the blue, and then we'll drop in the purple. And I'm not sure, let's see, what is our time? Can I see our time? I always like to see about how long. So it's been 17 minutes right now, which means by the time I finish this, and I've been talking, by the time I finish this, it's gonna be less than 30 minutes. It's probably gonna be like 20, 22, something like that. So what that means is you don't have to carve out a ton of time to get creative. That is what I'm always trying to tell our ladies in the club. Like, it doesn't take a lot of time, because that's the one thing we hear from a lot of people is, oh, I would love to do that. I would love to make time to try that, but I just don't have time. Well, guess what? Everybody is forced now to slow down and it only takes a little less than 25 minutes and you've got some time. Now, you might not have the supplies, so if you need to pick up the supplies, and then make the time to do something good for yourself. So this is watercolor paper. Sharpie would be fine. I ended up using another, but any kind of permanent marker and watercolor. So there we go. There's some just fun stuff for tonight. So if y'all do this project or a variation of the project, we love seeing you take some of our ideas and turn them into your own. If you do this, we would love to see y'all post it on the page. And I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll be live every single day this week. So see ya. Y'all have a good night.